So basically for the mains we will be discussing the functioning of the parliament. So what happened, there are two articles basically written by first the Shashi Tharoor in which he discussed the lack of parliamentary work or functioning. Sorry, फिर से record करना इसको. So we are so in this topic we will be discussing the basically functioning of the parliament. So what is the context of this news? What happened, there were two articles written by the opposition leader, first by the Shashi Tharoor on Indian Express last day, and today it is written by the Manoj Jha, right? Those articles focuses on basically degradation of the functioning of the parliament, and since it's a very favorite topic of the UPSC, we will try to discuss the comprehensive issue pertaining to the decline of the parliamentary functioning. What is the root cause, what are the solutions and way forward on it. Let us try to understand what is happening. So you might be knowing that there are basically three organs of the government. Those who don't know, let us try to understand the basics of the basically government in India first. So there are basically three body: legislatives, executives and the judiciary. So core function of the legislative part of the government is to make law. What is the function? To make law or to legislate. Who execute these laws? Executives. Who executes? So executives, but executives are of two types: political executives. Political executives means ministers. Ministers. If you talk about the union government, it is the Union Council of Ministers who will constitute the political executive, and there are the permanent executive. You people who will be the future bureaucrat of India will be the permanent executive of the country, and these political executives function under the parliament only, that is the legislature, right? That is the overall scenario that I want to give you. So what is happening? Parliament, which is a primarily forum for the law making and oversight of the executive and public deliberation of India, is somehow functioning in a degraded manner. What is happening? In the past few years, the quality of debate and the quality of time before the debate has basically decreased substantially. Sessions have been repeatedly disrupted, the sitting has been reduced, and there is a lack of detailed scrutiny which prompts worry about the democratic governance of the country, and the same was discussed by the Shashi Tharoor and Manoj Jha ji, right? Also, parliamentary functioning in India refers to the effectiveness of the Lok Sabha and the Raj Sabha in debating legislation, because the primary function of the parliament, and under parliament it comes the Lok Sabha and Raj Sabha and obviously the president. However, they are not basically debating the legislation. The bills are passed in a very short time period, and the parliament also holds executive accountable for the actions, and they do the scrutiny of the bill passed in the parliament, and somehow there is an allegation that the executives are evading the parliamentary oversight. Now let us try to basically discuss the key issues behind it. So first key issue that is there, it is related to the frequent disruption in the parliamentary functioning, and different tools are used. There can be adjournment of the house, adjournment Senate can be basically invited. There can be walkout by the opposition or the opposition parties. There can be slogans shouting that consume scheduled sitting time and curtail the debate time, which is very matter of the concern. Now there is a shortened irregular sitting days as well. For example, parliament meets fewer days compared to the initial days. Initially, just after independence, parliament used to sit like more than 120 days, 180 days in a given year. Now it has been reduced to the half, from the 120 or 80 days, from the 120 or 80 days or 180 days, it is reduced to the 60 to 80 days, which is just half the days the parliament sits nowadays, which was not the purpose behind creation of the parliament. Also, there is a weak committee scrutiny. only a small proportion of the bills are referred to the parliamentary committees. Rest of the bills are passed by voice vote, which is very alarming situation. Also in the past we have seen there is a mass suspension of the MPs. Why? Because there is a tool available for the presiding officers, and it is very subjective, which cannot be asked in the court of the law as well. This is basically misused. There is an allegation that it is misused to muzzle the voice of the opposition parties. Also, somehow, since the party in power always are into the dominance, numerical dominance, they try to muzzle the rest of the parliamentarian. An executive, that is the political executive, somehow dominate the rest of the parliamentarian, which is a matter of the concern. Now let us try to understand few facts which is related to the functioning of the parliament in India. So as a fact of the matter, during the 17th Lok Sabha, MPs were suspended on 206 instances. There are 206 instances in which member of the parliament from the both houses has been suspended, which basically shows the power to suspend the MPs are misused somehow by the presiding officers. Also, this is very alarming bill, fact that only 16% of the bill in the 17th Lok Sabha were referred to the committee. Only 16% of the bill, marked lower than the prior Lok Sabha. Very alarming situation. Or 35% of the bill were passed less than 1 hour. A bill which is having impact on the overall democratic credential of India, less than 1 hour has been discussed. Around 30% bills lies in this zone, which is very alarming, and at least 34% bills in the Raj Sabha was passed in the same manner, which is very alarming. Also, in some session it was studied by the Vidhi Center that Raj Sabha lost at least 70 to 89% of the scheduled time, almost 1/3 of its time to basically interruptions rather than debate. So what is the purpose of the Raj Sabha or Lok Sabha for that matter? Most of the time is basically lost in interruption, name calling, debating on non-parliamentary things. This is the basically matter of concern for all of us. And you will have to understand, in the United Kingdom's House of the Commons, 20 opposition days are reserved for the largest party. It is the 17 days that it is reserved for them. Overall 20 days are reserved in any year only for the opposition parties, out of which 17 days are reserved for the largest political party, so that their views can be catered, which is missing in India, right? We will discuss the more about this thing, how it is challenging the democratic credential of India. Now, what are the challenges to the Indian parliamentary functioning? So let us try to understand it one by one. Now, around 58% of the bills are passed in India in 2 weeks. These are data based on the credible sources. Only 9% bill faces voting. Only 9% bill. Also, what is the time loss due to disruption? Overall 30 to 60% was lost only due to disruptions, and we have already seen in the Raj Sabha it is higher, around 70 to 89% time is lost. Now only 16% bill are referred to the committees, which provide the expert opinion on any matter, which is also a declining trend from the previous Lok Sabha functioning. Also, there is a declining sitting days from the 120 to 140 days in 1950 to 60 to 70 days per year as of now. Not only that, there is a mass suspension and variable exclusion of the MPs from the opposition parties, which is a matter of the concern. Further, we will discuss it in detail. This is the only snapshot. Now let us try to discuss it in detail. So let us try to understand 4 challenges which is hampering the functioning of the parliament in India. First challenge is time lost due to disruption, which affect deliberation and legislation at large. So as per the PRS and other studies, they say that the multiple recent session has been large percentage of scheduled time lost. Some session recorded over 30 to 60% time lost due to the disruption, and isolated study reported 70 to 89% time lost in the Rajya Sabha. Why it matters? Because lost time reduces debate, scrutiny of the bill, and question our effectiveness. What is the challenge number 2? That is the erosion of committee scrutiny. We have already seen only 16% of the bill was sent to the committee. Why it matters? Because committee are the primary mechanisms for the technical stakeholder oriented review, and low referral reduce legislative quality in the country. There is a declining days, parliamentary days. Why it matters? Because fewer days increases the relative impact of any disruption and reduce opportunities for the oversight. That's why these matters a lot in any parliamentary democracy. Now, what is the next challenge? That is challenge number 4. That is the partition tactics and suspension. We have seen more than 260 MP has been suspended, which lead to the perception of bias, chairing or punitive suspension, undermine legitimacy and reduces opposition's capacity to hold the executive into the account. For Britain, once a speaker, always a speaker dictum is used. For USA is it also used, not in India. There is a partition in nature. That's why there is a allegation on the speaker that they basically uses this power, misuses this power to suspend the MPs. Now, there is a challenge number 5, rush legislation and limited recording voting. So, in 17th Lok Sabha, 58% bill passed without 2 weeks of the introduction, right? 50%, more than 50%, 58% bill has been passed within the 2 weeks, and only 9% of the bill had recorded voting. Some bill were passed within the hours without scheduled debate, which is also alarming. Why it matters? Because quick passes without detailed debate weakens the law quality and reduces the public transparency, which is a very alarming matter which we need to take care. Now, we will do the detailed analysis of each challenge, each 4 challenges that we have discussed. What is the solution of it? It will be also discussed. Now, what is the challenge number 1? It is related to the time lost due to disruption. So, tactical use of the adjournment walkout to press political demands. There is a tit for tat. For example, this time if the opposition party is walking out, next time the opposition party will do it, and similarly it was repeated used, resulting in the loss of the parliamentary time. Past disruption replicate the tactics, and role reverse is there. This time it is X party which is doing, next time that is the Y party will be doing, next time again the Y party will be doing. In tit for tat, X party will do the disruption, and there is the absence of guaranteed agenda time for the opposition. We have discussed in the UK, significant number of the days are reserved for the opposition in the UK, which is not the case in India, resulting in the lack of time given to the opposition, and this result in the more dissent among the dissatisfaction among the opposition. Who are the affected people? Citizens, we people, minority stakeholder dependent on the rigorous hearing, for example civil society or industry, and MPs who seek legitimate debate time are also suffering. Next is the existing mitigation attempt. There is a proposal for code of conduct, stronger enforcement of the rule by the speaker, and examples from the PRS Vidhi suggesting that procedural change, for example guaranteed opposition time, can improve the quality. These are existing attempts which can be basically better used for the better function of the parliamentary functioning. Now, what is the challenge number 2? It is the erosion of committee scrutiny. We have seen how only 16% of the bills are sent to the parliamentary committees. What is the basically affected people? Policy complexity area, for example in data protection bill, not all parliamentarians are expert of this area, or criminal law reform, not all parliamentarians are expert of it. Committee members are expert of that area. They can deliberate more upon it and can bring in better refinement on any proposed bill, but they are not referring this bill to the parliament. So, what is the solution to it? Joint committee, departmental standing committees, ad hoc committee, it is already there, we need to use it. Next is the declining sitting days. We have seen 120 days to 60-70 days. Who are affected? Overall legislative scrutiny is declined. Marginalized topics may never get adequate time because of the less sitting days. Now, we can do increase the days of the parliamentary sitting, which is a simple solution to it. Now, 4 is the partition chairing and suspension. We have seen how MPs from the opposition parties are suspended. What we can do it? So, opposition voices and institutional credibility of presiding officer is impacted by such mode. Make an speaker an impartial one. Once a speaker, always a speaker dictum can be used, and we can debate on the reforming suspension procedure. There can be a group of the citizens, basically MPs, who will decide rather than only the presiding officer who will be suspended or not. They can be called for independent ethics committee and cross party appeal for the restraint, so that suspension could not occur. Finally, it is the push legislation and limited recording voting. So most affected people due to these kind of the rust legislation are quality of the law is impacted badly, judicial challenges arises because of the lack of scrutiny, stakeholders are not consulted. What can be the existing attempt to deal with it? There can be a mandatory record votes on major bill and greater use of the standard committee in order to deal with such situation. Now, what is the solution to it? We have already discussed the problems. Let us try to basically do the solution for all these things which you can use in your answers. First is guaranteed opposition agenda, means there can be guaranteed opposition day and binding time share for the opposition parties, as it is done in the United Kingdoms, right? Also, what is the benefit of it? The guaranteed space of opposition debate reduces incentive to disrupt, and comparative parliamentary practice supports effectiveness. We can do it by doing the amendment of the rule, or all party code can be basically installed to do this thing. WIP agreement for the scheduling and operation integration into business advisory committee can also work in this direction. But what is the obstacle behind it? Government reluctance to cede agenda time needs cross party census to basically provide guaranteed opposition time to the opposition. Challenge number second was automatic referral gate for the major bills. We have seen how more than 58% bills are passed in a haste manner. What we can do, any bill which impact the fundamental right, the constitutional aspect of it, or our monetary aspect, our financial aspect, must be referred to a basically a committee. For example, a rule that a bill with significant criteria automatically referred to the standing committee or joint committee. Now, there is an allegation that joint committee and standing committee takes too much time. So, they can be given a definite time to respond to such kind of the bills, 60-70 days, that is the max. Within that days they will have to respond. Also, it is being used in Denmark and the UK, in which major bills are automatically routed to the basically committees. Now, how we will do it? We can only amend the standing order, equip committee with the secretariat, reduce to timeline and power to extend the limit cases. Now, we have seen that the parliamentary days has been reduced over the period of time. What we can do it to deal with the minimum parliamentary day? We can basically introduce statutory minimum sitting days and fixed parliamentary calendar. How we will do it? We can do it by the joint resolution of both the houses. We can do the constitutional political negotiation to insulate scheduling from ad hoc curtailment and measure to limit use of ordinances. And there is a historical precedent that in the past 140 days was used, which is reduced substantially of late, but by the statutory minimum sitting days order we can do it. It is very doable. Now, we can have the independent parliamentary ethics and discipline panel in order to basically stop misuse of the power of the suspension. What we can do? We can create a cross party parliamentary ethics panel with procedural safeguard to review serious disciplinary action. For example, long suspension of the parliamentarian, providing transparency and appeal. Now, what is the evidence of it? So, many legislators have ethics standard committee. For example, in the UK there is a committee of standard, in the USA there is a house ethics committee which provide due process and public reports, and such mechanism reduces arbitrary punishment and improve legitimacy. Also, there can be time bound inquiries, right to representation, public summary report and required parliamentary ratification for suspensions beyond limited days, which will help us to basically improve the basically trust among the different parties. Now, what is the problem number 5? What is the solution to it? So, we can do the mandatory recorded voting and cooling off for critical bill. For example, bill flagged as a measure, there need to be recorded voting on all these bills. If a bill pertaining to the change in the constitution, pertaining to the change in the fundamental right, it can be flagged as a measure, and there will be basically mandatory voting on it. Also, there can be a cooling off period, that within only after 48 or 72 or 36 hours it will pass, so that people who are concerned with this bill can deliberate upon, can discuss upon it, and finally the quality of law can be better. And we can define what is the meaning of the measure bill by simple procedure, and by which we can basically improve the functioning of the parliament in India. So, these are the solution to it. Also, we can have the technical scrutiny for significant legislation by the expert committee before full house debate to prevent rushed law making. We can have the pre-debate before it enters into the parliament, and it will help to improve the basically quality of the bill. And if a bill qualify to change the fundamental right, modify criminal justice, etc., can be sent to a committee which can discuss and deliberate upon, and cross party member can be available in this kind of the bill, which will finally improve the quality of legislation and will reduce litigation risk. We know the government is the biggest litigator in the judiciary, which will litigate it. So, basically it will help somehow. So, these are the basically solution to it. Now, what is the way forward? So, way forward to all these to better the parliamentary functioning is: first, priority number 1 is all party code of conduct plus routine business advisory committee for the transparency can be conducted. We can convey all party meeting to adopt formal code sitting, prohibited disruptive behavior can be weeded out, and implement enforcement guideline with speaker facilitating such kind of the things. Also, priority number 2 will be the procedural change with medium feasibility. We can mandate automatic committee referral for the measure bill, we have already discussed. Priority number 3 can be structural change, requires consensus among the different stakeholders. Statutory conventional minimum sitting days and guaranteed opposition days can be adopted based on the USA model or UK model. Priority number 4 will be independent parliamentary ethics and discipline panel for fair, transparent and suspension process. And priority number 5 will be the transparency and accountability, in which mandatory recorded voting on measure bill plus public dashboard of the parliamentary productivity can be used for the betterment of the parliamentary proceeding in India. With this, we will try to end this debate. Now, based on this debate, let us try to solve the question which is shown in the screen. We say recent trend on decline in parliamentary functioning highlights a vicious cycle of the disruption, shrinking session duration and executive dominance, leading to the abysmal low parliamentary productivity. In this context, critically examine the root cause of this decline and suggest comprehensive reform to restore parliament's primacy as the temple of the democracy. You can write it into 250 words and marks will be the 15 marks.